Hey guys, it's Tracy, the geography teacher here at the Academy, and welcome to the first session of Geography on Academy Bites. So today what we're going to be taking a little look at is geography as a subject for Leaving Cert. So to start off, whether you are someone maybe entering 5th year and making a decision whether to do geography or not, or potentially going into 6th year, hopefully this episode will help you. So guys, we're going to start off by looking at geography as a subject and the type of student who might suit geography. So first of all, I personally think, and this is my personal opinion, unlike subjects like English and maths, geography doesn't require the same level of, I'm going to say, natural ability or natural talent. Geography is really one of those subjects that suit people who have good comprehension skills, so good understanding, and also someone who is motivated. So someone who is willing to put in the hard graft and hard work to actually learn. The subject is very, very factual, so it requires a lot of time kind of learning. So if you're someone who's going to work hard at it, you're going to be the type of student who does very well at it, okay? And that's why it's a little bit different than other subjects. The time you put in and the effort you put in, as well as obviously with a few tips and tricks, that's going to you'll reap the benefits from it if you do put that time and energy into it. Now, in relation to the Leaving Cert Geography exam, which is what we're going to discuss next, one thing I'm going to say is at Leaving Cert, the Leaving Cert higher level exam, which I'm going to speak about now, is very different from junior cert or junior cycle higher level, okay? The papers are very, very different. Now, you may be studying a lot of topics that are similar, but the papers themselves they couldn't be further apart from each other. At junior cert, you kind of give it a lot of short answers, a lot of paragraphs, you do a lot of ticking the boxes, whereas at Leaving Cert, you're going to find there is quite a significant amount of essays. Now, they're not like English essays, they're very factual based essays. So you don't need to have you don't need to be excellent at writing an essay as such, an English essay, if you're good at just stating facts as such. So to start off, the exam paper at Leaving Cert higher level is 2 hours and 50 minutes long. It's a 400 mark paper, and that 400 marks is going to be 80% of your final grade. So the other 20% going for your field study, which we're going to speak about in a later episode. Time-wise, as I said, 2 hours and 50 minutes, 400 marks, 80%. When does it take place? It will take place the Friday after the June bank holiday weekend, okay? So it's an easy one to remember. So the Leaving Cert always starts on the Wednesday following the bank holiday weekend, the June bank holiday. The exam is always the 9:30 exam to 12:20 exam on the Friday. So to start off, what do you see when you open that paper? When you open that paper, what you're going to see is part A or section 1. It kind of changes every so often. So for your first part of the paper, part 1 or part A, that's your short answer questions, and quite similar to what you might have seen at junior cert, but a little bit more difficult content wise, and also the length of them, how much you have to answer based on them. Now with the short questions, you're going to get 12 short questions, and each student is required to answer 10 of them short questions at 8 marks each. However, from examining papers, what I'm going to say is answer all 12, and all your examiner is going to do is take your best 10 and mark you on them ones, okay? So whatever ones you answered best, the best 10, they're going to take them. So that's going to be 80 marks in total when you have them added up, and that is going to be worth 20% of your paper, of your written paper, which is actually quite a significant amount when you actually think about it. Now, in relation to the short answer questions, there's a little bit of a misconception here. A lot of students think that you can be examined on any element of the entire course, and that's not true. The short questions are based on physical geography, regional geography, and also the skills section. Now, the skills section incorporates your ordnance survey maps, your aerial photographs, and also your weather maps, and reading a little comprehension of text and answering questions based on that. So a little bit of kind of statistics there, but nothing too difficult, okay? I can promise you that. That is what it examines. So it doesn't examine geoecology or culture and identity, or it also doesn't examine your electives, so your human, environmental, or your economic, although sometimes that does creep in into the kind of comprehensions, but the answers are typically speaking there. Now, that is part 1 or section 1, your short questions. Everybody will answer them. Moving on to part 2 or section 2. Part 2 or section 2 is your structured and essay style questions. Now, these questions, there's 4 main kind of sections in this section, okay? Or 4 main parts in this section, if we want to say that. Now, obviously the 2022 paper, there has been adjustments made. So I'm going to just speak to you about the traditional paper and also the adjustments made. So in relation to the traditional paper, so what people would have sat in 2019, which would be the last time it was sat in this way, in 2019, students would have answered 4 questions from 4 different sections. Now, what are these sections? These sections are physical geography, regional geography, your elective, and then your option. So in 2019, students would have went into their exam, they'd have answered 1 physical question, 1 regional question, 1 from the elective, whether it be economic or environmental, and 1 from their option, geoecology, culture and identity, the ocean atmosphere, whatever one they had chosen. Now, in the 2022 exam, you're going to see that it's going to be different for anybody going into 6th year this year. So what has happened this year, the Department of Education and the SEC have decided to kind of alter that exam because of the time missed in 5th year and maybe in 4th year or 3rd year, depending on whether you did transition year. So this year for the 2022 exam, what you're going to see is that you have to answer, and I hope this comes out correctly because it's a bit of a tongue twister, but you have to answer 3 questions from 3 different sections. So to give an example, you might answer 1 from physical, 1 from regional, and maybe 1 from your elective, and then a 4th question from any section. So you could potentially go on to geoecology and answer a question there. However, if you're being smart with your study, you might say, I'll go back to physical and actually answer 2 physical questions. So that's the difference this year. So let's have a look at each section. So to start off, physical geography is examined on questions 1, 2, and 3. Now here, in each of these, what you're going to see, each question, and this is the same for physical, regional, and your electives, there's going to be a part A, a part B, and a part C in every single question. Now, if you choose, for example, question number 1 from physical geography, that means you answer the entirety of that question, the part A, B, and C. There's no such thing as mixing and matching, which a lot of people have made mistakes on, hopefully only in their mock exams, but sometimes you do see that students in Leaving Cert make a little stumble and don't actually know the structure of the paper. So when you answer question number 1, you answer the entirety of that question. The part A is kind of like a junior cert long question, maybe a little bit more difficult. There's usually a diagram and you usually answer questions. Maybe there might be 1-word answers, or they might be kind of 2 to 3 sentence answers, whether it's briefly explain or name. Now your part A is worth 20 marks and is usually allocated between 5 and 7 minutes. The quicker you can do that question, the better for yourself. The part B and part C, these are both essay style questions and they are both worth 30 marks each, usually taken between 13 and 15 minutes of your time, or 12 and 15 minutes of your time. Again, the quicker you can go, the better for yourself. There are 30 marks, which are given approximately 15 minutes, no more, and also you need 15 significant relevant points in each of these essays. Now, that is the same structure. So we're talking about physical geography, for example, question number 1. That's the structure there. Part A, 20 marks, 5 minutes. Part B, 30 marks, 15 minutes. Part C, 30 marks, 15 minutes. So in total, that's going to be 80 marks and 35 minutes of your time. Now, let's say, for example, we did question 1 in physical. We went on to our regional geography. Regional geography is question number 4, 5, and 6 on the paper. Now, you might choose again, question number, let's say 6, for example. The same structure applies. Part A, part B, part C, 20 marks, 30 marks, 30 marks, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. 80 marks in total, 35 minutes of your time. After that, we see our electives. So we have our economic and our environmental. Question 7, 8, and 9 is your economic. Question 10, 11, and 12 is your environmental. Now, students will only choose one or the other of the electives. So I have seen in the past students trying to study 2. That wouldn't make a whole pile of sense because you only answer one of them in your exam. So you'll either do economic or environmental. Same structure applies, part A, part B, part C, 20 marks, 30 marks, 30 marks, 5, 15, 15. I hope at this point that's kind of drilled into your head. You've heard it a couple of times, but that's really, really important that you know the marks and you know the timing. Finally, the last section of the course is your option, and there is 4 options under the option. Typically speaking, most students will be looking at geo-ecology. A lot of students have started to look at culture and identity, but geo-ecology is what over 80% of students actually do. This is question number 16, 17 and 18. Now, this is the only part of the paper, I should say section 2 of the paper, where actually the structure changes. So here you pick one of these questions if you're doing that. Again, you only have to look at 3 sections of the paper this year. You, let's say, take question number 16, and with question number 16, what you'll see is it's one essay style question. This essay is worth 80 marks, so again, 20% of your paper. Combine your short questions and this, it's actually 40% of your paper. Your paper can be passed with that. And the 80 marks are split into 2 parts. 20 marks for your overall coherence, so how well you answer the question. And secondly, the other 60 marks going for your significant relevant points. And that should be under 3 to 4 headings depending on the question asked. Now that question is going to take you 35 minutes and is one long essay style question. That's really the important part there. The reason, obviously, you have your overall coherence marks and also you have your significant relevant points marks is because this is a different kind of section of the paper, and actually the options section of the paper, for example, geo-ecology, is a higher level topic only, and there's very few of them on the Leaving Cert paper. So that is going to be higher level only. Now, just to repeat back there, just kind of a quick glance of part 2 of the paper. This year for 2022, you're only going to have to pick 3 sections of the paper. So again, example, you might do physical, regional, and maybe geo-ecology. You answer 3 questions on 3 different sections, and then the 4th question from any section you want. So you can repeat back on that. And that's really, really important for you guys to remember. Now, how are you guys going to organize yourself going into 5th year or going into 6th year, and particularly for the 6th years out there? It's really, really important for you at this point to, first of all, get your exam papers. Your exam papers are vital, particularly to practice your short questions. With the short questions, practice makes perfect. For any students who continuously practice their questions, they're always coming back to me and saying, Tracy, the same questions are asked constantly. It's true, okay? That's not a myth. The same questions are repeated constantly. So if you practice the questions, more than likely you're not going to get too many surprises in your Leaving Cert, and also it's going to build up on your time. You're going to speed up. The short questions should be taking you a maximum of 25 minutes, but generally speaking, someone going for a higher grade, maybe a H1 or a H2, should be getting them finished in under 20 minutes, okay? That would be my best advice there. When you look at the second part of the paper, how are you going to prepare for that? Well, for this year's students going into 6th year, I'm going to be saying to you, you need to decide, make a decision on the sections that you're actually studying. Now, I would be advising students not to cut out physical or not to cut out regional, because these 2 sections can be examined in your short questions. So if you cut either of those out, you could shoot yourself in the foot for that part 1 of the paper. So I'd be saying definitely do physical, definitely do regional, and potentially choose between your electives, so your environmental and economic, and also your options. I'd be saying to most students, particularly students who are willing to work hard, the actual option section, the geo-ecology, is actually probably the easier of the 2 there, because there's actually less to learn really as such, and it's quite a predictable part of the paper itself. So decide on your 3 sections for this year, focus your study on them 3 sections. For each section, you need to know the topics in it and what actually is asked under them 3 topics. For example, if you're looking at the rock cycle, you need to know exactly the questions. There's 6 essays that can be asked under the rock cycle, okay? They can be phrased differently, but they're the same 6 questions all the time. You need to know exactly what can be asked and how they can be asked in each section. Once you have that done, that's when you start writing your essays or potentially learning your essays. When learning your essays, find good ways to learn them. You don't need to learn an essay word perfect, but if you learn the structure, you learn your keywords within that essay, and you know your definitions, it doesn't have to be the exact same as it is on your page, but it just means that you're saying it pretty much the same every single time, so you're not forgetting it. Use mind maps, use tables, use what you need to learn that essay without actually learning it word perfect, sitting down for hours writing sentence after sentence after sentence, because that's not studying smart. So guys, I hope this has helped. I hope you've enjoyed our very first episode based on geography here on Caribbean Bites, and we shall see you in the next one.